Operation Domination is underway. The ultimate game plan to dominate your NFL experience. With your hosts, Dan Maiden.
But what's more impressive to me about the
Chase
fact
Thornton.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta get
Chris Dowhouse.
Get him, Chase. Get him, Chase.
And Adam.
No, not necessarily, but it's the same.
Don't hope to win. Be great and dominate.
get into the tight ends a little bit. Travis Kelce, the first one up on the Rocket docket. Adam, you're the only one between me and Chris that has him at 2. So why do you hate Travis Kelce so much there, bud?
Look, I'm just only having a conversation with you about this because Chase isn't here, because we would be having a much bigger debate.
We would have a much different conversation if Chase was here, yeah.
So let me at least say that. Thank you very much. I feel like I'm getting... At any rate, look, I'm just doing it for you because if I decide that Laporta is my tight end 1, then we'll get the good Kelce. And then if not, we won't. Look, I love Kelce. I mean, he's getting real up there in age, and it's hard for me to keep betting on him. And I've been doing it, and look, tight end 2 is, come on. Like, I think he's the second guy. Look, I think Laporta is probably, outside of Amon-Ra, the next best weapon in that offense. I like Laporta quite a bit. So I'm erring that way. I think it's close. I think it's those two, and then it's the rest of them, as far as I'm concerned. I do think those two are a tier. And then after that, we're talking about, you know, our Mark Andrews and the like. But I gave Laporta the slight edge. I liked my young guy. It's been a while since we've had a change of the guard at tight end. I think it's about time.
Well, you mentioned Laporta. Greg's a Lions guy. So, Greg, let me get your 2 cents on that one.
Kelce is the most consistent tight end that's ever played this game. The guy played last year. He missed 2 games. He played injured for probably 6 others. And if you look at his playoff run, he showed he's not over the hill. With a receiver that can stretch the field like Hollywood Brown and like Xavier Worthy, that middle of the field is Kelce's domain, and nobody runs the read routes better than Kelce. I love Laporta. Kelce's going to outscore him by 50 points this year. I love Kelce. He's number 1.
Yeah, and I think people really, they seem to forget that Travis Kelce was not 100% to start the season last year and still was the tight end 1 on a points per game basis. So yeah, I'm 100% with you there. Let's dive into Brock Bowers. Chris, this is the person you're highest on in this list. You have him at tight end 8, which I think is a little aggressive. So why are you so confident Brock Bowers, a rookie tight end with a bad quarterback situation, can be a top 8 tight end?
Well, obviously, I'm not as anti-Raiders offense as I think you and Adam seem to be. I don't think Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell are going to light the world on fire, but I don't think they're scrubs per se either, and I think they can feed multiple mouths. And I do think Brock Bowers is a top talent on this Raiders offense. I think he's one of the more talented guys that you can in this draft coming out. A guy that I was super high on as a weapon, not just as a tight end, but as a weapon. Now, as a tight end, this is a guy that you necessarily don't have a guard for. We talked about Travis Kelce and how hard that is for a guy that you can't necessarily match up with. You put a D-back on him, you put a safety, you put a linebacker on him, a guy you can move around, he line up in the slot, you put his hands on the ground, he can come off and play action and come off and drive down the field and get open that way. So Brock Bowers has a lot of ways he can kind of provide impact into the offense. And one thing that I have some trust in Luke Getsy for is he's able to get his receiver 1 the ball, and he's able to get his tight end the ball. Cole Kmet was top 7 the last 2 years in half-point PPR. So we talk about a guy when I feel like 8. I'm not looking I think I'm shooting too high. I think I'm looking at a guy who can get similar numbers, a guy who's probably going to get maybe 80 to 90 targets. We saw Dalton Kincaid as a rookie get 92 targets last year, so getting a rookie 90 targets isn't outlandish. A guy that can possibly get you 6 to 7 touchdowns. And a guy can get you around 800 to 900 yards. So you put those things together, that's a tight end top 6, top 7. So I think for me, Brock Bowers is a guy that this offense is definitely going to look to get involved outside just Devontae Adams. I think he's the second mouth to feed. He's also a guy they're going to hand the ball to. They're going to get the ball to him in different ways. So I think Brock Bowers is a guy that I love in the red zone. I know you're chuckling, Dan, but it is a guy that I think that he has potential.
I'm not chuckling because I think Brock Bowers doesn't have the ability to do that. I'm chuckling because I will pay money the day Luke Getsy actually draws up plays to do that for Brock Bowers. That's why I'm chuckling. It's not because of Bowers.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be a Luke Getsy's allowed to say too many things. I think that Brock Bowers is going to be on the field. That's pretty much Antonio Pierce's demand that one way or another you're going to get this guy involved. So that's what I do trust, that Antonio Pierce shows you he prioritizes his playmakers. He prioritizes his coaches and tells them who get the ball to. Brock Bowers, to me, is one of the most talented guys, like I said, in that Raiders offense, and this guy who can be second fiddle to a receiver one who's going to get a lot of attention, a lot of safety help. So that leaves that middle open for Brock Bowers. And was O'Connell or mentioned they're both going through the tight end position, because usually young guys do. So I like all those things to add up for upside opportunity.
I mean, I'm not down on him because I do have him as a top 12 tight end, and he's a big reason. Again, like I said, I'm way out on Myers, but there's a lot of obstacles you have to overcome as a rookie tight end. I mean, Greg, how do you see this thing? I mean, Bowers being a special talent and everything.
Rookie tight ends don't do what Laporta did. That's so unusual. Look at Kelce's rookie year. I mean, frankly, Myers, you can be out on him, but remember last year when he was drafted, he was the top tight end in the class, and people thought he was a superior talent. How much of the play does Brock Bowers get as a rookie this year? Quarterback situation you guys have mentioned. I think he's going way too early and way too high. I think Chris hit his ceiling. I think he can finish 8, but I don't think it's likely. I think he's much more likely to finish around 15 to 16. And the truth is, after the top 6 tight ends, most years, there's such a huge drop off that you can punt tight end until late in your draft and take anybody.
Well, Cole Kmet, number 7, 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's fair. But Cole Kmet was also 3 years into his career and wasn't really splitting touches with anybody else. I do think the Mayer thing. I'm not making an argument, first of all, that Bowers is going to be losing an abnormal amount of touches to Mayer or anything like that. But snap wise, red zone wise, Mayer being the better blocker, especially early on in September, is where I do wonder.
That's why I brought up Dalton Kincaid.
Snap share is going to be.
That's why I brought up Dalton Kincaid and 92 targets.
Right, and Dalton Kincaid wasn't good for fantasy until Dawson Knox was out of the way. So
the 92 targets was the key that I'm focusing on, and that's around what Cole Kmet
wasn't enough to make him a top 12 tight end, was it?
It was enough to make Cole Kmet the top 7 tight end 2 years in a row. So that's what I'm going off the 90.
Because of touchdowns. That's the key. Is Bowers going to get enough touchdowns with this offense? Again, I'm not much lower than you on him. I have him as a top 12 tight end too.
Is Brock Bowers getting 7 touchdowns outlandish?
I
think as a rookie, I think it's high end. I think that's about as good as he can get. And I think
is outlandish. No, I wouldn't say outlandish.
Yeah, I think your numbers on receptions and yards are
and Brock Bowers is like a generational talent, but okay. We'll see.
Laporta's in a
I hate that
comparison there. Laporta's in a much better offense, a much better quarterback, a much better situation across the board with nobody that he had to split snaps with at the tight end position. It's a totally different. It's apples and oranges you're comparing there. Even if Bowers is a better talent, quote unquote, than Laporta, you still need the context of everything else around you to be able to do what he did. But we're going to end on that note with our underdog specials. I only had 3 because I couldn't find a Denver Bronco prop that I liked, but I do like Travis Kelce higher than 950.5 receiving yards this year. He hasn't been lower than that mark since 2015. Yeah, take Travis Kelce higher than 950.5 yards. Ladd McConkey higher than 725 yards this season. We've talked about McConkey to death, how we think he could be the lead target of this team, and 725 is low for a guy who could be the wide receiver 1 in this offense with Justin Herbert as his quarterback. Zamir White, I have him higher than 4.5 rushing touchdowns. Look, Josh Jacobs had 6 in 13 games. Zamir White's going to be taking all of his work, especially inside the 5-yard line. While it's not an offense that he's going to score a ton, I do think we're going to see more than 4.5 rushing touchdowns as long as White plays 13 games or more this season. And those are your underdog specials for this division. Big thank you to Greg Kellogg here coming on to the show and spending time with us. Appreciated it so much, man. I want you to tell everybody, some things you've been working on, what you want people to check out, where to find you at, and hopefully we'll see you soon at the Expo.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at the Expo. I do a Thursday podcast, 7 o'clock Eastern, called Thursday Checkdown with the sports affiliation. You can see the logo up. Is that the way? Nope, the other way. Up there. These guys, they want to keep fantasy fun and positive. So that's why at my age, I don't need the negativity. But I do want to invite you guys in season. I'd like to get one of you on to do my podcast. And then off season next year, I'd like to have all of you on to talk what you're doing next year. So stay in touch with me on Twitter. You can find me at Gregory L. Kellogg, which is in the name. Thanks for putting that up, Dan. I know you don't like to. I appreciate that. You guys are fun. You are. And I don't know what your subscriber numbers are, but you're with Tyler. Is it Tyler Bradley?
Bradley, yep. CEO of Fantasy Football Advice Network.
Tyler, I met this last offseason, and he's a good guy. He really is. And he's doing things right, and bringing you guys on, I think, was a great move. You guys are very knowledgeable. You do the micro analytics a lot more than I do. I do not. There was no ADOT when I started. So I like ADOT, but what does it really tell you? It tells you the depth of the target. But, if the guy's only got 5 targets, that's meaningless. And if it's a full year, the depth of the target doesn't. I just think that too many people use microanalytics and don't actually study the coaches. I think, but you guys talked about the coaches today, and I love that about your show. I really do. People need to tune in. You guys do a great job. You got good chemistry, and you're fun. You put up Gardner Minshew for me. I love that. I do. The guy's a stud. He's a stud. He's jacked. He's got to be the quarterback. You get the women fans.
Greg, we put up anything for you, man. We appreciate you coming on. Appreciate the kind words. And yeah, we'll absolutely get on your show when we can definitely schedule that out after today's show. Guys, make sure you're checking us out. Operation Domination. You can follow us always live. We try to be live on Wednesday nights as much as humanly possible. Sometimes we get some guests we got to reschedule. Right now, we're in the books for Wednesday night next week. Make sure you subscribe to at Advice Network. Make sure you follow Operation Domination on your favorite podcast app. You can follow me at Dan Mater FF. You can follow Adam as well. Chris is working the at OP Domination FF Twitter handle for the show. So you can find us in all kinds of different ways. And the biggest thing we're going to be available for is the Fantasy Football Advice Network website, which is going to be a whole community platform. People are going to come in, ask for fantasy football advice, comment on everything, basically a social media platform for just fantasy football. So make sure you go ahead and check out fantasysports.com. It's not just going to be football. They're going to be opening up basketball and baseball in the future. Right now, football is full go, though. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. We'll see everybody next week. Have a great weekend. Hey there, I'm proud to say that Underdog Fantasy is the newest sponsor of our show, and it's my favorite place to play fantasy games. No waivers, no trades, no lineup settings, just best ball for season-long drafters all year long. And you gotta check out Pick'em. It's so easy to play. Just pick 2 to 5 stats of your favorite players. You can choose whether they go higher or lower on those stats, and if you can pick 5 in a row, you can win 20 times your money. Sound like fun? Well, guess what? You can sign up with promo code FFAdvice today to claim your special pick, plus a first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. I cannot wait to see your entries.